In the summer of 2022, everything we thought we knew about rivers shattered. Because in the Mekong, a river that winds through 6 nations of Southeast Asia, the largest freshwater creature ever recorded surfaced. Not a crocodile, not a shark, but something far stranger. Something bigger than a car, heavier than 3 grown men. A living relic from a forgotten age. And it's real. Stick around to the end, because the creature we reveal defies all logic. And since 99% of you watching aren't subscribed, hit that button now. Don't miss out on the monstrous animals of our world. The world saw the photographs, but behind the headlines lies the deeper mystery. How could a creature of such staggering proportions survive in a river system hidden for decades, perhaps centuries? And if this monster exists here in waters we thought we knew, then what else could be hiding in the places we've never looked? Because the story of this river giant isn't just about a stingray. It's about how nature hides its most terrifying secrets in plain sight, and how little we truly know about the world around us. It began, as all legends do, with whispers. Fishermen along the Mekong told stories of shadows beneath their boats. Nets ripped open as though sliced by unseen blades. A sudden dip in the water, a wave from below that tilted entire canoes. They called it the river's breath, the presence of something vast, unseen, pressing against the current. For decades, no one believed them. Scientists dismissed the tales as superstition, cultural myths, or exaggerations by men who had spent too long in the heat. After all, rivers have limits. They are confined spaces. How could something the size of a small car move unnoticed in waters this narrow? And yet, the signs were there. Reports of sonar readings that captured forms far larger than any known species of freshwater fish. Testimonies from divers who felt vibrations pulsing through the riverbed, as if an engine larger than a ship were idling just beneath the silt. In 2005, a French expedition funded to study the biodiversity of the Mekong vanished without explanation. Their boat was found downstream, abandoned. The only clue was a camera water-damaged, its last photograph a blurry image of something flat, massive, pressing against the river's surface. The story was buried, never officially released, whispered only among researchers who claimed to have seen the file before it disappeared. The river, it seemed, was hiding something. Years later, conservation teams returned. Their mission was to record and tag endangered species to show the world the richness of the Mekong. But what they found was beyond conservation. They captured a creature that defied reason. A freshwater stingray, stretching over 4 meters in length. Its weight, nearly 300 kilograms. Its bulk sprawled across the muddy banks like a living island. Its skin was thick, mottled with patterns that seemed older than time. Its tail, armed with a venomous barb long enough to pierce bone, dragged silently across the water. For a moment, the scientists could only stare. This was no myth. This was no exaggeration. It was real. The creature dwarfed their equipment. The villagers compared it to their trucks. And when photographs were released, the world saw it too. Headlines read, "The largest freshwater fish ever recorded." But those who stood there, who touched its skin, knew that the truth was far more terrifying. Because this wasn't the largest one. It was simply the one that allowed itself to be found. In hushed conversations after the expedition, the team admitted they had recorded sonar readings weeks earlier. One shape, deep in a trench, measured nearly twice the size of the ray they caught. The reading vanished before they could confirm it. Officially, it was dismissed as an error. But unofficially, the whispers grew louder. The Mekong, it seemed, had not given up its greatest secret. And here's the thought that chills scientists to this day. In nature, size is balance. For a predator to grow this massive in a river, it must be feeding on something just as large. Which means the stingray is not the only secret lurking in the Mekong. If a creature bigger than a car can drift in silence beneath the current, then what else can? What else already has? And before we go deeper, ask yourself this: do you really want to know? Because what's hiding in our rivers might not just challenge science. It might challenge the limits of our imagination. Subscribe to BeastFlix now, because the monsters we've already found are only the beginning. The official story broke in June 2022. A fisherman in Cambodia caught something he couldn't explain. At first, he thought his net had snagged a sunken log. But when the river began to move with it, he knew he had hooked something alive. The call went out, and soon scientists were there to see for themselves. What they pulled from the water became the largest freshwater fish ever verified by science. The stingray sprawled across the shallows, its body shimmering in the dim light. Its eyes were small, almost unnoticeable, but the weight of its presence was overwhelming. Its width was greater than the span of two men, lying end to end. Its length stretched farther than the boat that hauled it. Bigger than a car, heavier than a grand piano. But what unsettled the researchers wasn't just its size. It was its silence. Most animals caught in nets thrash, panic, resist. This giant didn't. It allowed itself to be brought to shore, as though indifferent, as though it had done this before. One researcher later described the moment in a hushed tone. It felt like it was letting us see it, just for a moment, like a warning. The Stingray was tagged, measured, and released back into the river. The headlines celebrated it as a conservation victory, but among the team, unease lingered. They admitted to one another that what they had seen didn't fit. The Mekong is rich, yes, but rivers have limits. How could something so massive sustain itself in such waters? What was it eating? And if this was only one specimen, what did that mean about the rest of its kind? Because rivers are not oceans. They don't hide endless food chains or vast migrations. A creature this size should be impossible. Unless, of course, there are food sources we've never identified. Unless there are other giants living unseen, supporting one another in a hidden ecosystem beneath the current. Satellite surveys of the Mekong revealed something stranger still. Entire stretches of the riverbed shifted without explanation. Sediment displaced as if by something enormous moving through the mud. These weren't tides. They weren't seasonal floods. They were movements that defied geological explanation. Local monks, when asked, spoke of the mother of the river, a being so large it stretched across the bends of the Mekong like a living mountain. To them, the Stingray was only her child, a fraction of something far larger. Myth, perhaps. But then again, science once dismissed the giant Stingray itself until it surfaced. And this is the fear that lingers. That the largest Stingray ever recorded was not an outlier. That it was not even an adult. That it was simply the one that let itself be seen. Imagine what else could be waiting beneath. A Stingray the size of a bus. A shadow that could overturn barges. An apex predator we have yet to name. Because nature is not limited by what we find comfortable. It creates monsters in silence. It hides them where we least expect them. And sometimes, only sometimes, it lets us catch a glimpse. The largest creature ever pulled from a river is real. We've touched it, measured it, released it back into the depths. But that's just the beginning of the story. Because if rivers can hide giants like this, what about the oceans? And even more chilling, what if this wasn't the biggest? What if the Mekong's true monsters are still waiting, deeper, older, and far more dangerous than the Stingray we know? We don't know what else is out there. But we do know this: rivers are not safe for monsters. And neither are we. Because if a river can hold a creature bigger than a car, then the question is simple. What will we find next? The answer might be far deadlier than we imagine. If you like cryptozoology and paleontology, subscribe to BeastFlix. We'll show you the monsters. You decide if they're real.